national governments, but some countries with a plurality of parties also have corrupt national governments.
All right, so what is this saying for us? Tell me in your own words.
The government is corrupt.
Which one? Which one though? So it's saying the vast majority. So this means more than 50%, right? So we're going to say like most. So most countries that have a single political party, I don't even know $100. Single political party. So just most of them, right? So it's not all, but it's closer to, it's above 50%, but not quite 100%. These have corrupt. You're like you said, they're corrupt national government. They suck. All right, cool.
Mhm.
But then what? How does this different from the second part of that sentence, Olga?
Well, the second part of the sentence is talking about some countries.
Yeah. So what does some mean?
More than one.
At least one. At least one. Right? So at least one.
About one.
Yes. Okay. So I put single political party. So this is going to be a political party, plurality political party are also corrupt, right? That's all we know so far.
Mhm.
And like, hey, there's at least one that is has like a plurality of parties and it's corrupt, but we know for sure that those that just have what are countries that have a single political party essentially? What kind of government is that? If we just think about it like
a dictatorship.
dictatorship. Yeah, I don't know that for certain, but when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Countries that are dictatorships have corrupt national governments, but some countries that have multiple parties also can be corrupt. That's all that first sentence says.
Okay.
All right, so Sky, go ahead and read the second sentence for us.
What all countries with corrupt national governments have in common, however, is the weakness of local governments.
All right, so what is that saying for us?
It sounds like they're saying that it's actually the local government that's corrupt.
Is it the local government that's corrupt, or is that just a piece of it? What do we know? You're in common sense world, you're right. But more in a more logical sense, what do we know about? So this is a strong word, right? All countries.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we know about all countries that have this corrupt national government? What is true of them?
Is that their local government is weak.
Yes, they have a weak local government. So let's look at this here. So then what do we know about the vast majority of countries with a single political party? What all do we know about them?
That most of them are corrupt.
Yep, and then what else do we know because they're corrupt?
They have weak local governments.
They have weak local governments, right? Because it's the same thing. We have corrupt national government and we have corrupt national government here. And the same goes for the plurality political parties here, right? We know there's at least one country with a plurality of political parties that is also corrupt. And since this at least one is corrupt, we know that it is also has a weak local government, right?
Okay.
All right. So our argument or our question says, if all of the statements are true, which of the following must also be true? So is this a bottom up or top down question?
It must be true.
Is it a top?
It's a top down.
Top down, yeah, because we're going from the top and we're trying to find an answer that stays between those lines. So do we want a stronger or more mild answer? 10.
Mild answer.
Yes. All right, everyone. All right. So go ahead and try this question and put your answer in the chat. And just send it to me directly, please.
Oh, no, no.
Okay. Let's dive into this one. So this is a must be true. So we're looking for what has to, I love this. Someone said they all look the same. Yes, that's why we spend so much time learning the stimulus at first, because you're right. We get to the answer choices and they are written to trick us. So you are not alone. You're like, I felt so confident. And then, yes. Okay. But let's dive into what these actually mean. So A says every country with weak local government has a single political party. So every is a very strong word, right? That means all. Do all countries, so what this is saying is all countries with a weak local government. So if you have a weak local government, that means that you have a single political party. Does that have to be true? No. Could it be true? Well, actually, no, because we know there's at least one that doesn't. But if an answer choice could be true, that doesn't mean it must be true. So this one, we know for sure, like it doesn't have to be true, so we're going to cross it off. All right, let's go to E. I think E was really tricky for a lot of people. Fewer multi-party countries than single-party countries have weak local government. So how many people pick? I think a lot of people picked this. So who picked this and why did you pick it? Angel, are you there? I know you were one that picked it.
Yes.
So what did you like about E?
You said D?
E is an egg. I think you originally kind of went E.
Yeah. Because I saw that really in the, I couldn't figure out the conclusion. I thought that was the conclusion in the
So this argument actually doesn't have a conclusion. These are just statements. So if it's statement, what do we know is true if it's a statement or a premise? Or that was a weird way to ask that question. Does anybody know? If it's a premise, what do we know about it?
It supports the conclusion.
It does. But what about the statement itself? What do we know? Like, does the conclusion have to be true?
Yeah.
No. But are the premises true? Right. Yeah. Right. Like, we know, we accept the premises as true, right? Maybe that's what you said, Sky. Maybe I misheard you. I'm sorry. But we accept the premises as true. So the fact that these are just statements, we just accept them all as true. Like, hey, at least in this world, it is what it is. It is what it says. And so I think E is tempting because we know that a vast majority of countries that have a single party, a vast majority of them are corrupt, but that doesn't mean that there's more single party countries than multi-party countries that have weak local government, right? Because what if there's only 5 dictators out there, right? 5 dictatorships. And 4 of them are corrupt. But of the single party system, maybe there's 100 of those and 10 of them are corrupt. Could this be true and our statements still be true? Do we know for sure that there's more of a, so we don't, I guess what I'm saying here is we don't actually know how many there are of either, so we can't compare them in number. All right, D, what did we think about D? I think a lot of, Nikki, you picked this one. What did you like about D?
I like that it said the majority of countries with weak local governments have a single political party. So I was just looking at the vast majority. And then I looked at all, and then I looked at majority, and then I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like it could go. So I chose the answer.
Why is D wrong? Do you know?
No.
All right, so what D is saying is the majority of countries with a weak local government. So this is saying a majority with a weak local, or I should do it this way. So M stands for a majority. So a majority of weak local government has a single political party. Do we know that? Single weak local government? Did I draw this twice? A majority of weak local. Okay. Hold on, let me see what this says. When all countries have corrupt national governments, corrupt national governments, weak local government, weak local government. Oh, I drew this from earlier. I'm sorry. Okay, so all we know is that if they're corrupt, they must have a weak local government, right? But we don't get to just switch this, right, and just say, well, if you're a weak local government, you're for sure corrupt. Or, hey, Karshna. Karshna is one of our tutors, and she just popped in. I think, so for this one, they switched the sufficient and necessary. So the majority of countries with a weak local government have a single political party. Couldn't there be weak local governments out there that don't have a single or a plurality of parties? Like, we have no idea. And so also, whenever we talked about too, the different strengths of questions, we tend to want a more mild answer choice. What makes B and C mild? What word? Some, yeah. So at least one country with a weak local government has a plurality of political parties. So that's saying one country with a weak local government has a multitude of parties. Or C says at least one country with a weak local government do not have a corrupt national government. So I want you to decide between these answers and put between B and C in your answer, and then chat for me. You get a chance to change your answer if you like. All right, Angel, you got it right. Can you explain your answer to us? Tell us what answer you picked and why you picked it.
All right, I got B.
Yep, as in boy.
B as in boy, yep.
And why is that one right?
Oh, okay.
I make you know why you even got it right.
Can I go?
Yeah, go, Sky.
Yes.
Well, if Angel, are you willing to phone a friend?
Yes, I am.
So at first I picked C because I thought that in sentence in the third line, it was saying that some countries, meaning that there's at least one that does not have a corrupt national government.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went back and I read the question where it says must also be true, C doesn't support what the paragraph is saying. So
And there's no support here for it, right?
yeah.
Like, and this is where we get in trouble in common sense land, because common sense land would be like, yeah, there's one country with a weak local government that's not corrupt, right? Like, we would think so, but there's no support for that in our stimulus. And what does this say here too?
It's all countries with corrupt national governments have in common.
Yeah, if it's a corrupt national government, we know that it has a weak local government. But
Right.
what is the contrapositive of this? Does anybody know? How would you flip it and reverse this? Did you cover this last week with Jasmine at all?
What are we flipping and reversing? Which one?
This, the green box right here. So it's a corrupt national government.
Mm-hmm.
Corrupt national government, we know it has a weak local government. How would we negate, or what would be the contrapositive of that?
So WLG leading to CNG, but then put slashes through both.
Excellent. Yes. So that all we know from this is that if it's not a weak local government, it's not a corrupt national government, right? We don't get to assume that just because a country that has a weak local government, they're not corrupt. All we know is that if they're not weak, they're not corrupt. We have no idea the alternative. Like if it were that. All right. So why is B right then, Sky?
B is right because you can find it in the paragraph.
Yes, exactly. Let's find out where. Okay, so some countries with a weak local government. So this means at least one country, right? One country with a weak local government has a plurality of parties. How do we know that this is true? Where is that support at up here? How do we connect that?
Where it says, but some countries with a plurality of parties.
Yep, some countries with a plurality of parties have a corrupt national government. And what happens if you have a corrupt national government?
Then there's a weak local government.
Yes. So does there have to at least be one weak local government that has a plurality of parties? Yeah. All right. Does everybody follow that? How do we feel? That was intense.
Yes, it was.
How are you feeling about it, Nikki? Did you follow though?
I followed, but when it comes to this diagram,